All right, so welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to try to unpack something you use every single day, and you probably don't even realize it. Data compression.
Data compression.
Yeah, it's how we get to stream movies, download music, and even send emails without waiting forever,
Right.
But here's the thing. Data compression is not just about, making files smaller. It's about understanding the very nature of information itself.
Oh, wow.
I know, it's kind of deep. And get this, our sources today range from recent notes to historical perspectives. We've even got some deep studies on information theory and data compression.
Really?
Yeah, ready to dive in.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, great. So what's fascinating about data compression is that it forces us to ask some really fundamental questions, like what is information?
Right.
How do we measure it?
Exactly.
And how is meaning even created from a bunch of ones and zeros?
Yeah, it's a good question. What's fascinating about it is that it, forces us to really kind of get down to brass tacks with all this stuff.
Yeah. Okay, you're right. I never really thought about it like that. I just assumed data compression was some kind of technical wizardry that magically shrunk files down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a bit like magic.
Yeah.
But it's a magic we can understand.
Okay.
And the key to unlocking that magic is understanding the work of Shannon, the father of information theory.
So this Shannon guy, he's like the Einstein of information.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
Okay.
Shannon revolutionized the way we think about information back in the mid-20th century.
Wow.
His groundbreaking idea was to define information as the reduction of uncertainty.
Reduction of uncertainty. Can you give me an example? I'm not sure I quite follow that.
Okay, sure. Imagine you're trying to guess the result of a coin toss.
Okay.
There's a 50-50 chance it'll be heads or tails, right?
Right.
That's a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah.
But once the coin lands and you see the result, bam, the uncertainty is gone.
Okay.
You've gained information.
Oh, okay. So trying to see where this is going. So the more uncertain something is, the more information it contains.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Shannon figured out how to measure that information using a concept called entropy.
Entropy?
Yeah. Think of entropy as a measure of disorder or randomness.
Gotcha.
The more entropy a system has, the more uncertain it is and the more potential information it holds.
So data compression is basically about finding ways to reduce entropy to make the data more ordered and predictable.
You're getting it. See, data compression algorithms are designed to exploit the patterns and regularities in data to represent it more efficiently.
Okay.
It's like finding a shortcut,
Yeah.
a more elegant way to express the same information.
That's pretty clever.
Yeah.
But our notes also mention that Shannon didn't just come up with this information theory stuff.
Right.
He also did something amazing with circuits in computers.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
His master's thesis in 1937 was a stroke of genius. He realized that Boolean algebra, a system of logical operations, could be used to design electrical circuits. This was revolutionary, It transformed circuit design from a kind of art into a precise science.
So he figured out how to translate abstract logical ideas into physical circuits.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big leap.
It was a monumental leap.
Wow.
And you know what? This paved the way for the development of digital computers as we know them today.
Wait, so all the smartphones and laptops and everything we use today, they all go back to Shannon's work?
Every single bit of it.
Wow.
His insights about representing information using binary digits or bits form the foundation for all modern digital technology. It's hard to overstate his impact.
Wow. I'm starting to understand why they call him the father of the information age.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got information, we've got entropy, and now we have computers. But how does all this tie back into data compression?
Well, remember how we talked about compression algorithms finding ways to reduce entropy?
Yeah.
And represent information more efficiently? Shannon's work provided the theoretical framework for understanding how much compression is even possible without losing any information. This limit is actually known as the Shannon limit.
So there's a limit to how much we can compress data.
There is, at least for lossless compression.
Lossless compression.
Yeah, where you want to be able to perfectly reconstruct the original data.
Okay.
Think of it like zipping a file.
Yeah.
You can unzip it later and get back exactly what you started with.
Right. That makes sense for things like text files or computer programs where you can't afford to lose a single bit of information. But what about things like images and music?
Right.
Don't we compress those too?
We absolutely do. And that brings us to the fascinating world of lossy compression.
Lossy compression. So you're saying we actually lose some information?
Yes, but strategically. Lossy compression algorithms, like those used for JPEG images or MP3 audio, exploit the fact that our senses aren't perfect.
Okay.
They discard information that our eyes or ears are less likely to notice,
Okay.
achieving much higher compression ratios.
So a JPEG image might be missing some tiny details that I wouldn't even see unless I zoomed in really close.
Exactly.
All
And
right.
it's not just about visuals. MP3 audio compression discards frequencies that are less audible to human ears.
Oh, wow.
The amazing thing is that even though some data is lost, the essential meaning, the music or the picture, is still preserved.
That's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So we're basically tricking our senses into thinking we're getting all the information when we're actually only getting the most important parts.
That's a great way to put it.
Really?
And this raises a really interesting question. If meaning can persist even when some information is lost, where does that meaning actually reside?
Oh, yeah.
Is it in the data itself?
Yeah.
Or is it something we create in our minds? It's a question that's puzzled philosophers and scientists for ages,
Yeah.
It seems that meaning might not be solely contained in the objective data, but also shaped by our subjective interpretation.
So like the same image could have different meanings to different people.
Exactly.
Or even to the same person at different times.
Exactly. Think about a photograph of a loved one.
Okay.
The image itself is just a collection of pixels, but to you, it's filled with emotional significance.
Yeah.
That meaning isn't inherent in the pixels themselves, but arises from your personal connection to the person in the photo.
I see what you mean. So how does this tie back to data compression? Is compressing an image somehow changing its meaning?
Here's where things get even more intriguing.
Okay.
Lossy compression, by discarding information that's less important to human perception, is making a judgment about what's meaningful.
Right.
It's like it's saying, these details are irrelevant to the essence of this image, so we can get rid of them.
So the compression algorithm is making a value judgment.
It is, yeah.
That's a bit unsettling.
It is intriguing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It raises questions about whether meaning can be objectively defined or if it's always subjective. And if algorithms can be designed to make judgments about meaning, what does that mean for the future of artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
Could we create machines that truly understand meaning the way we do?
Whoa, those are some deep questions.
Yeah.
It's funny because our notes mentioned something about our brains doing their own form of lossy compression.
That's right.
Yeah.
Cognitive scientists believe that our brains are constantly filtering and compressing the massive amount of sensory information we receive.
Right.
We couldn't possibly process every detail of our surroundings, so our brains focus on what's most important for our survival and understanding of the world.
So our brains are like super efficient data compression machines, highlighting the most meaningful aspects of our experiences.
You could say that.
Wow.
And it makes you wonder, are we only perceiving a compressed version of reality?
It's kind of a trippy thought. Like, what if the universe is this incredibly detailed, high-resolution image, and we're only seeing a blurry JPEG version of it?
It is humbling. It makes you think about the nature of consciousness and whether our perception of reality is just a tiny sliver of what's actually out there.
Yeah.
But maybe that limited perspective is what allows us to make sense of the world at all.
I guess too much information would be overwhelming. Our brains are kind of protecting us from information overload
Right.
by focusing on what's most meaningful to us.
That's an insightful way to look at it. It suggests that our limited perception might not be a bug, but a feature.
So we're not actually missing out on anything.
Right.
We're just experiencing reality
All right.
in a way that makes sense to us.
Precisely. And this brings us back to the concept of data compression. It's not just about making files smaller.
Right.
It's about understanding how information is structured, how meaning is created, and ultimately how we perceive and interact with the world around us.
This deep dive has been a real mind bender. Data compression is so much more than I ever imagined. But before we wrap up, I want to get into some of the specifics. So we've talked about lossy and lossless compression. But are there other ways to compress data?
There are many different approaches and algorithms, all incredibly clever in their own way.
Yeah.
But at a fundamental level, most compression techniques exploit one of two key principles: redundancy and irrelevancy.
Okay, break that down for me. Redundancy is like removing repeated information.
You got it.
Okay.
Think about a file with a long string of the same character.
Okay.
You could just store a code that says, repeat this character X number of times, right?
Right. That makes sense. So what about irrelevancy?
That's about discarding information that's not essential to the meaning or purpose of the data. Lossy compression, as we've discussed, is a prime example of exploiting irrelevancy.
So different compression algorithms are basically making different judgments about what's irrelevant.
Precisely. And that explains why some compression methods work better for certain types of data than others. For example, you wouldn't use the same algorithm to compress a text file and a music file.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not just about squeezing data down to the smallest possible size. It's about finding the right balance between compression and fidelity.
Exactly. And that balance is constantly evolving as new algorithms are developed and our understanding of information and meaning continues to grow.
Okay, all this talk about algorithms is making my head spin a bit. Maybe we should shift gears and talk about how data compression is actually used in our everyday lives.
Sure.
I mean, we've touched on it, but I'd love to get some concrete examples.
You're experiencing the benefits of data compression constantly, often without even realizing it. Think about streaming services like Netflix or Spotify.
Okay.
They rely heavily on data compression to deliver high-quality audio and video without overwhelming your internet connection.
Oh, that's right. I never really thought about how much data it must take to stream a movie in high definition.
It's a massive amount.
Yeah.
Without compression, streaming video would be incredibly slow and choppy, if it were even possible at all. But clever compression algorithms allow those services to deliver a smooth and enjoyable viewing experience.
So data compression is basically the unsung hero of our entertainment.
Absolutely. And it's not just streaming. Data compression is essential for downloading music, sharing photos and videos, and even making phone calls over the internet.
Wow, it really is everywhere.
It's like the invisible force that makes the digital world go round.
Yeah.
And it's not just about entertainment and communication. It's crucial for scientific research, medical imaging, and countless other fields.
Speaking of different fields, our notes mention that data compression is also used in cryptography, the science of secure communication.
That's right.
Yeah.
Data compression and cryptography often go hand in hand. In many cases, data is compressed before it's encrypted to reduce the amount of data that needs to be protected.
So it's like compressing a secret message to make it harder to intercept?
You could think of it that way.
Okay.
Compression can make encryption more efficient and secure, which is essential in a world where data security is paramount.
This has been a fascinating journey, but before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we discussed earlier. The idea that our brains might be doing a form of lossy compression.
Right.
If that's true, does it mean we're missing out on experiencing the full richness of reality?
That's a really good question, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's true that our brains prioritize certain types of information.
Right.
We're wired to pay attention to things that are important for our survival.
Right.
Like faces, movement, changes in our environment.
Okay.
But that doesn't necessarily mean we're missing out on the, quote, full picture.
So you're saying that our brains are actually helping us by filtering out irrelevant information.
Think about it this way. If you were constantly bombarded with every single sensory detail, it would be completely overwhelming.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Your brain wouldn't be able to make sense of anything.
Right.
By focusing on the most important information,
Yeah.
our brains create a coherent and meaningful experience of reality.
Okay, that makes sense. So our compressed view of reality is actually what allows us to function and understand the world around us.
Exactly. And it goes even deeper than that.
Okay.
Our brains don't just filter information, they also interpret it.
Oh, wow.
They create connections, fill in gaps,
Right.
and construct narratives to make sense of our experiences.
So our perception of reality is shaped not only by what we sense,
Right.
but also by how our brains process that information.
Precisely. It's like our brains are constantly running their own data compression algorithms.
Wow.
Finding the most efficient, meaningful way to represent our experiences.
That's an amazing thought. It makes you realize that reality isn't just something objective and fixed. It's something that we actively create through our perceptions and interpretations.
Exactly. And this brings us back to the heart of data compression itself.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about making files smaller.
That's right.
It's about understanding how information is structured, how meaning is created,
Right.
and ultimately how we make sense of the world around us.
This deep dive has been an incredible journey. We've gone from the technical intricacies of algorithms
Right.
to the philosophical implications of information theory and the nature of reality itself.
Yeah.
It's made me realize that data compression is so much more than a simple technical tool.
Right.
It's a fundamental concept that touches on some of the biggest questions we can ask about ourselves and the universe.
It's a testament to the interconnectedness of knowledge and the power of curiosity.
Right.
Sometimes the most seemingly mundane topics can lead us to the most profound insights.
Yeah. Well said. I think I can safely say that I'll never look at a compressed file the same way again. It's a reminder that there's always more to discover, always more layers to unpack, even in the things we use every day without a second thought.
And that's the beauty of learning, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a journey without end, always full of surprises and moments waiting to be discovered.
On that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of data compression. We hope you've gained a new appreciation for the magic that happens every time you stream a movie, download a song, or simply send an email.
And remember, the next time you encounter a compressed file, take a moment to appreciate the incredible journey it's taken. From a complex web of information to a compact and efficient package.
Right.
Ready to be unpacked and experienced anew.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those data files nice and compact.